Elon posted this morning, he said, my companies are surprisingly in some ways trending towards convergence. And you can see his big giant ideas that he's talking about terafabs, he's talking about space-based AI data centers. These are massive multi-trillion dollar industries, businesses, markets, and they require all of his companies pretty well, right? Tesla does the robots and the AI chips. You've got SpaceX doing delivery of satellites. And of course, SpaceX, everything comes together there. And XAI does all the AI. So what the idea that's been forming is that Larry initially started saying, you know what Tesla can do, what Elon can do is Tesla is a public company and all of its companies are private. There should be a share swap. That way Tesla shareholders could have some SpaceX shares and some Tesla shares within the company itself. And I think you and Alexandra Cern and Larry, you guys can put together and think about this, whether this is a proposal. So if it becomes something, at least it's actually a better idea than just XAI and Tesla only, right?
Yeah, well, yes, it's a better idea, and time always improves things. There's no doubt. The issue is always how much do you want to be precise in these shareholder proposals, or how much latitude you want to leave to the board to then navigate it how they want it, right? And I think for that point, we were actually not too far off the goal in the first round, because we left it very open. It was a consulting of us shareholders, and thereafter, the board can do what they want to do. Again, I think it's dead at the moment just because the procedure is what it is, but it opened the door for them to do it in any way. Now, if we suddenly say we want share swaps, that is already a very narrow road. Maybe there's a better one. I mean, one thing I have to say, Tesla's lawyers have impressed me the last 6 months like never before. I've always been critical. I'm always critical of lawyers, always. It's just I see so many and so few good ones, and in my day job, in my other businesses, and so the way the last 6 months have been managed by Tesla's lawyers have been stellar. The way they have navigated this plan B for the 2018 share package, if ever we don't win Tornetta, has been stellar. The way they have set up the new 2025 plan with restricted stock rather than normal options has been a great idea. I mean, all ideas I would have never come up with, but once I see them, I go, oh my God, that is genius. The way they choose their team to lead the appeal, I don't know how many of you have listened to the live stream of the appeal of Tornetta. That was masterclass. So I'm really impressed with them. And then on the other side, you have me and my little team writing a shareholder proposal overnight because we had 7 days left and everything had to go. You see, we really had no help from them, and we should not have any help from them.
Yes.
But we also, we're just so uneducated and not smart compared to them, right? But that's just the way it is. There's a learning curve. We're learning. I mean, like I said, I can't do much more than apologize. I wish it would have been easier and we would have understood it earlier.
Yeah. Jeff, I haven't heard your opinion on this idea of a share swap. Did you give it some thought at all?
I need to see the proposal, but I've been pretty clear and on the record, and with a lot of people fighting it over the last 2 years, that Tesla has significant synergies between several of these businesses, definitely XAI. It was XAI on its face since its inception. It was so clear. It was so obvious. And there's things that haven't even been discussed in terms of GPU leverage and depreciation. There's so many different things that can and should be done between these businesses. So it makes sense. Tesla investors, a lot of Tesla engineers seeded that business. Tesla megapacks are powering that business. Tesla energy engineers engineered that solution and wrapped 519 megapacks around that facility. And if you think they're buying a different GPU part number from NVIDIA for Colossus versus Cortex, you probably shouldn't be whatever. I'll be nice. So anyway, there's tremendous synergies, and of course I would be supportive. These companies are on incredible growth trajectories and growth vectors, and to me it makes a lot of sense.
What are the other ways that we need to do? I mean, do we need to do a poll from the shareholders, just informal, just to get a sense of how many actually think this is a good idea, or how does that work?
Well, write the proposal.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we have a poll. There's clearly retail who was for it. I mean, the problem with these proposals where the board cannot give any guidance is that a lot of shareholders that we cannot reach, or that are in countries where the banks don't allow proposal by proposal votes, but only vote with the board or vote against the board, those proposals just fall in the trap, right? They're gone. So they are either counted as not voted or abstain, hence no. So and we'll run into that again, because the board does not want to give guidance on that. The board wants to be the ones who receives from us shareholders a clear mandate to do it, so that nobody can come back to them and say, look, this is a conflicted transaction. Elon is too involved in both. You should not have initiated that. They want to be answered. I mean, they want to cover their butts. I was good there. Saying, look, the shareholders pressed us and pressed us and pressed us again, and there was a clear majority for us to do it, and so we did it. We didn't love it, but we did it. So, I mean, they're trying to stay out of it, and Elon has to stay out of it. So we have to do the whole heavy lifting, and we have to be much smarter about it than we were first time around.
Alexandra, there's this the conflicted area, because Elon is a CEO of all these companies. There's a conflict of interest. Apparently, according to CERN, he just made me aware of this. There's the current shareholder lawsuit between the Cleveland Bakers and Teamsters pension fund against Tesla, because they say that Elon breached his fiduciary duty by, creating the XAI opportunity outside of Tesla.
No. I mean, I can't believe I'm talking about Delaware again, but here we are. Yeah. So there are still 3 cases in Delaware, and they have been regrouped. And one of them is that Elon allocated GPUs to XAI that were initially ordered from Tesla. Remember that? I don't know, beginning of last year, whenever it was. So that's that one. All those 3 cases were filed in the last couple of days and short weeks before we had last year's shareholder meeting in June and moved to Texas. So Tesla is trying to make the case, and they had oral arguments 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks because we're Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, in front of the Chancery Court, where all three have now been regrouped, saying, look, these 3 cases shouldn't be in Delaware at all anymore. They should move to Texas and judged in Texas. There's good reason to ask for that, because in Texas, the whole setup would be much more favorable to Tesla. So we're waiting for that judgment, from that verdict by Chancellor McCormick. She was the one. And the only information I have so far, I still can't put my hands on the transcript, was that contrary what happened in the Tornetta oral arguments, where she interrupted all the time, where it went really bad for Tesla's lawyers, where she was very friendly with Tornetta's lawyers, and it was a clear adversarial situation at that moment. Amy was, by the way, there, and she told me about straight away after, and I've heard from other people, and I read the transcript multiple times. I mean, it was really harsh. This time, for this regroupment of the 3 cases, including the one where there's this XAI conflict, she did not ask a single question. So I don't know whether that's a good sign or not. That's the only information I have so far. And then we'll see. And I mean, if it goes really bad, there's always appeal again. But that is still a pending case involving an XAI Tesla relationship. If we can move it to Texas, I think it's not a case that would delay anything. If it stays in Delaware, well, there we are, delaying it again. And I asked 10 days ago Ed Ludlow from Bloomberg to ask Robin Denholm whether she feels the Delaware cases did delay anything. And her answer was, to make it short, no, it was obviously time consuming and whatever, but it didn't delay anything. And I just want to state publicly, I just don't agree. I do believe, especially the investment into XII, could have happened without any shareholder vote, could have happened in so many other ways if we were not having all these garbage in Delaware to deal with still.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Is it true, though, if that does, the plaintiffs do win that lawsuit, that what would happen is Elon's shares in XAI would just go to Tesla? Tesla would own those shares?
I don't think that's the outcome, no. I don't think so. I think this is a derivative case. I mean, I would have to look at it. Since I know that Tesla is actually pleading to go to Texas, I didn't really look at the details of what the other parties want anymore. It's all these pension funds, you know, they don't do it for themselves. They do it because they have a lawyer who wants to do it, and they want to get a lot of attorney fees out of this. This is not to save the world, believe me.
Okay. All right. Thank you for all that, Alexandra. I mean, part of what I want to talk about today is, you know, what is Elon's next move? And it just seems that about 2 weeks ago, a week ago, he started talking about space-based AI data centers. At the annual shareholder meeting, he revealed plans for a terafab. And then we now see that there's this potential new ground clearing in Giga, Texas, for the factory, maybe for the 10 million bot production line. These ideas we're talking about now, the one we were just talking about last 10 minutes here, we're all about, you know, combining or somehow, how does Tesla work with XAI? How do they work with SpaceX and every other company Tesla has? It's just crazy, the ideas he has. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. We are, you know, at that kind of precipice. So I don't really have a question to that, except, so I don't know if Jeff, you want to take it on here, but do you feel like, you know, we're on a cusp of something even bigger than we all thought? You know, his plans for the AI chips is just massive. He's talking big numbers now. You know, his goal is big. He's talking about Kardashev level 1 by 2030. I think today he said that it's possible. It's achievable to be able to hit that by 2035. It's big, and hopefully Tesla shareholders come in for the ride, right?
You just have to look at what they're building, and you don't have to really, you know, reach out too far into the distance. They showed you the Cybercab, you know, they showed you elements of the production process that would basically do it in the third of a time of building a Model Y, which is a very efficient vehicle. So they're basically, these are points on a graph, and these points on the graph are trying to take these AI edge devices and get, you know, their variable cost structure theoretically as close to zero as possible. How do you do that? You reduce process times, you reduce labor, you improve labor efficiency and capital efficiency, and then you drive that variable cost structure down, and then you can make plenty of things at a very low cost structure. Gross margins aren't a problem. So all this may sound like fantasy world. You know, the first year of these products are going to be a slog. It's going to be very difficult to ramp these things, but once they're up and going, their terminal run rate of like how they perform, you know, their cost structure, the velocity, the sellout velocity, and the ability to produce these things are going to be unlike anything that they've replaced in the past. They're just going to be so much better. So you have to, at this point, you have to believe the story, because what's happening now is you open up your X feed and some random account wants to tell you about Kazakhstan sales in October. And you have to understand what's happening in their business. You can either be hung up on Kazakhstan sales in October, or you could understand that they're creating a new sales channel called Robotaxi, called rental vehicles, called a different pricing model, a different ownership model for a vehicle. So you have the classic build to order model for years, and you still have it. You had a build to inventory or build to stock model, check. And now you have a new sales channel that's been created. So when you hear Elon and his leadership team say, hey, we're going to crank up capacity because of the software and services that are going to be running on our products now are going to increase demand and make our products more desirable, they are making a bet. They are placing bets with their suppliers. They are placing bets within their own facilities and hiring people. So if you go to traditional analysts or random people on Twitter who want to tell you about, the Sweden sales in September versus September of last year, then that's a traditional, that's a traditional auto business, and all those things could be true. And there could be an October sales problem on Tesla, but that's not the business. That's not the new book. And you have to believe that they're establishing and opening and writing the first pages of the new book. If you don't believe it, then it's not the place for you. If you believe it, then just understand your time horizon and carry on.
Yeah, that's a nice way to frame everything. That's right. You can look at the very specifics of what's happening, or you just realize Tesla's and all the other companies Elon's making is bigger and bigger than we think, and things are moving forward. Omar, you were at the factory. You couldn't stop talking. You were swearing, talking about how incredible the Cybercab, what you learned about that. Yeah, what's your thinking? What after seeing the actual Cybercab, learning more about how it's all going to come together, the unboxed model? Pretty confident that they're going to launch it in April, and it's going to be scaled quickly.
Well, I don't know if they'll hit the April deadline, but they're definitely making a lot of moves in the factory to begin production. We saw the motors, we saw the wiring harnesses. They gave us a little demo of how the pieces come together. So I think the broad theme here is AI entering the physical world. We've seen AI take the digital world by storm. And most people who have digital jobs, I mean, ChatGPT or Grok might be really doing their whole job, right? You even see like doctors and lawyers talking to ChatGPT to help them with their work. But in the physical world, AI obviously doesn't have a body. It's not able to move around the physical world. And I think Tesla's going to play a huge part in making that happen. So there's obviously Optimus, which we got some exciting news about. But also the robotaxis, right? That's really going to be the first way that we see AI enter the physical world. And when you kind of think about where we are, a lot of people try and frame it as, oh, okay, self-driving. We already have self-driving cars. Waymo, won already. They already exist. But when you zoom out and you look at the 5 cities where we have driverless today, compared to all the cities in the United States and around the world that don't have driverless technology yet, it's really clear that we're just at the beginning. This is just the very start of something that's going to transform the world. And I think the whole industry recognizes it. So what we really,
No, keep going. No, and that's a great way to frame it, right? Yes, Waymo, Baidu, these guys are already in multiple cities, but there's only 10, 20 cities out of the 200. Well, I don't even know how many cities there are in the world, but yeah, hundreds.
Yeah, thousands, right?
Yeah.
We need to expand to thousands of cities and suburbs and rural areas. So we really need to put millions of autonomous cars on the road. And there's no company that's really better equipped to do that than Tesla, obviously. What we saw with the Cybercab, really this radical new manufacturing process. I mean, everyone's been talking about the fact that it doesn't have a steering wheel or pedals. But I think we've really forgotten about the unbox process, which looks like a game changer in terms of how they make a car, really kind of making it, you're manufacturing these much smaller pieces. I think it's going to be much easier to automate, much easier to introduce Optimus into those production lines. And yeah, they're really ramping up aggressively here, I think, to produce millions of these things and try and get that coverage that I was talking about all over the world. So yeah, this is going to be really exciting what we're seeing with the Cybercab. I think from a software perspective, you're now seeing that FSD 14 is able to drive thousands of miles without a safety critical intervention, which is a big deal. You know, in my case, it drove me from California and Texas to back. There were no safety critical interventions. Other people had a similar experience. Some of the people who are, trying to track this online, they've seen thousands and thousands of miles and no safety critical interventions. And then when we look ahead, are they hitting a plateau, or is there actually more improvement coming? Well, with AI 5 coming and AI 6 and AI 7, with the data center at Giga Texas getting better, with bigger, with the data set getting bigger, the cars getting bigger, there doesn't seem to be any ceiling here. I think the cars are just going to continue to get more intelligent until they're just, um, absolutely leaving humans in the dust. So that's a very important development. When we met at the 1010 event over a year ago, a lot of people wondered, well, would the software actually be ready by the time the Cybercab entered production?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we know the answer now. It's a resounding yes. The software is actually ready to make a vehicle like the Cybercab work. Certainly by April, I think we're going to have 14.2 or 3 or something that's even better than what we have now. So yeah, that's really, I think, the theme here. AI entering the physical world. It's really a multi-trillion-dollar market. And I don't see any company that has the unique combination of hardware, software, and manufacturing that's required. I mean, honestly, as I was walking through the Tesla factory, this factory that's just miles long, with cell production and vehicle production and general assembly and training the models that run the cars, all happening at that Giga Texas facility. I was just thinking, how can anyone take companies like Figure or 1X all that seriously? How are they going to be able to replicate this, the supply chain, the factory, from nothing when they've never really built a complex manufactured product before? And in the case of robotics, the scale of manufacturing actually feeds back directly into the software. Because to make the software reliable, you need a huge data set. And for a huge data set, you need a huge fleet. And for a huge fleet, you need a huge factory. So I think most people don't appreciate just the magnitude of these strengths, how hard something like Giga Texas or even Fremont is to replicate. And yeah, I think Tesla is positioned very well to capitalize on this theme of AI entering the real world.
Nice.